Yeah, hey everybody, this is Steve Ninja. I'm from Excelsior Movie Reviews. I used to go by Steve Ninja a lot when I was a little bit younger. It's kind of my alias. It was actually my channel's name when I first started. It was Steve Ninja at the time, and I decided to change it because nobody could ever find that my channel on YouTube at the time, maybe because I was fairly new on YouTube. So I decided to change it to Excelsior Movie Reviews. Sometimes it's kind of hard to change your channel's name. It's like you don't always know. I'm looking here to see if this is showing it's live yet. Okay, we are live. So
All right.
so yeah, this is my friend Jason. He goes by Jmac, and he's in my fantasy football league. I tell you everybody. So it's great to have a guest on my channel. I like to do more of this on my channel. I've done it before with Zoom, and at that time I was like recording the videos and kind of editing the video and then showing it back, and like a replay kind of thing. But this is actually live tonight. But this is kind of a test run because it's only the second time I've used StreamYard to do a live stream. So it's like it's just something for fun. Tonight, if you see the title, we're doing a top 10 favorite Best Picture Oscar winners, and we're not going to do these in order. They're not ranked because we haven't shared each other's lists, so I don't know what Jason has on his list, and so it's a kind of like a free for all kind of thing, just to get your favorites out of the way as soon as possible. But Jason told me that he's actually he likes a lot of like classic Hollywood, which makes a lot of sense. There's a lot of great movies that built Hollywood up. Those are the movies that made Hollywood what it is now. When it was definitely more where they took filmmaking, and it was less corporate at the time. So they did a lot at that time. But Jason, how you doing tonight?
Oh, I'm great. Thanks for having me on. Always excited to talk about movies.
Oh yeah, absolutely. So earlier on our we had like a group text with my fantasy football league, and I asked, does Academy always get it right as far as best picture winners? And they brought up one that in 1978. A lot of people will know that Annie Hall won that year, but it won over very controversial because it won over a classic movie called Star Wars at the time. My point was, I think at the time that the voters were probably like 40 and up. They weren't young people that made Star Wars blockbuster. They were a much older group, and they probably weren't. Some people will say Star Wars is not a science fiction movie. I kind of disagree with that. I think it is in that realm, at least adjacent to science fiction.
Yeah.
Just people would say like something like Star Trek is more science fiction. This is more of like a space opera. You can argue that point, but Star Wars was extremely popular in 1977, and then the Oscars in '78. They picked Annie Hall. So I personally don't dislike Annie Hall, but I know that Jason mentioned that he's not really a fan of Annie. I don't think you're probably not a fan of like Woody Allen necessarily, which I kind of understand that too. He makes more art house kind of movies.
Yeah, not a big fan. I think I only have one of his movies in my collection, and
Oh yeah,
Annie Hall is not one of them.
yeah. I only have two. Like I said, I probably like Manhattan maybe a little bit more than I do Annie Hall, but Woody Allen. You could say things about Woody Allen where you separate the art from the artist, that kind of thing. Some people will bring up, Roman Polanski's probably much worse than Woody Allen, as far as what he did.
Right.
A movie like Chinatown or Rosemary's Baby are regarded pretty high with people, despite what he did and the fact that he's not even allowed to. Roman Polanski's not even allowed on U.S. soil, even at this age. It was late '80s. He's probably doesn't have that much more time to live, and so it's we actually have a guest here. I've got Tony, Basement Blues. Tony, you may not know Tony, but he's been on YouTube since like I think the late 2000s, something like that, and he's got this huge room of like movies, and he's probably the biggest collector that I know of on YouTube. It's like he's got like a whole basement full of like 2 rooms of movies everywhere, and and Tony's seen probably more movies than I have probably. So Tony, how you doing tonight? Yeah, yeah, that's great. Like I said, this is my friend Jason. We actually our fantasy football group actually went to Vegas last year in August of 2023, and I had a great time. I was like, I keep thinking about how great of a time that was. It's like because I don't think I've been farther west than like Missouri ever in my life. I've never been that far out.
Okay.
So it's like I don't go on like big vacations or anything outside of the state or anything. Besides like maybe Chicago or Cincinnati, someplace like that, or or maybe Detroit. But I haven't really been that far before. So it's just great hanging out with like there's like 8 of us I think on that group. There's like we have a 12-team fantasy football league, and Tony's got another one here. Yeah, good to see you. Yeah, Tony, it's always great when you're on. Tony's been on like tons of live streams that I've been on with. We have a friend named Movie Mike or Mega Mike, the Movie Man. I've been on his channel several times, maybe 20 times. So I've been on live streams before, but it's usually on other people's channels. And
Gotcha.
Tony's been on some of those, and Tony's a great competitor. Really, really, really nice guy, and it's basically we have a lot in common as far as a lot of the movies that we like. Maybe some movies that I like, maybe Tony may not be as big of a fan. And like The Warriors, a classic movie that I love from the late
Love
'70s.
Warriors.
A great movie. It's not an Oscar winner, but it's one of the great ones. Yeah, but yeah. As far as this, like I said, we're doing this for fun. This is kind of like a test, basically. I've never used StreamYard on my channel, on my movie channel before, but I've done one once on my music channel, which I have another channel called Excelsior Music Reviews, which I don't do. I don't do a ton of videos on there. I did last night. Actually, today I actually released a video, but I've probably only done like 3 videos all year on that channel. So it's just kind of
Okay.
something I do because that's another thing. Like when I first started, if you look at like some of my early videos, I was trying to like play music and stuff like that, and it's like the really early first couple of months I was on my channel, and it was like on YouTube, you kind of have to pick, kind of stay in your lane. Basically, you can't do like movies and music together because the audience, you're going to have all kinds of different people. People are going to come to your channel if you have a movie channel. They're going to come there to listen to somebody talk about movies and not necessarily to talk about music. And so I kind of wanted to keep the two separate. So
Yeah.
that's why I did that. I've got to watch my hands too because I do this a lot. If I get nervous, I'm going to get on a roll a little bit. I'll do too much. Yeah. Yeah, I do. I do Ala theater reactions. That's when I first started. I was doing a lot of movie reviews at that time, and it's like
Mhm.
nobody watched the videos mainly because my channel was really really small at the time, and so I decided just to do like Ala theater reactions, which is like for me, I'm in danger when I talk about movies. I can actually spoil the movie quite a bit. It's like because the more I talk about it, the more I'm going to give things away. And it's like and if I do like an Ala like on YouTube, they do these YouTube shorts, and if you only give like you only get 1 minute to talk about a movie, so it's just Ala theater. What do you think of the movie? Just instant reaction. That doesn't necessarily mean that just because I liked the movie when I saw it out of theater doesn't mean I necessarily love the movie. And maybe it was my instant reaction was I enjoyed it enough. It may not necessarily be like the most rewatchable kind of movie or the greatest movie out there because I've seen some movies recently that I didn't love. They weren't like that like rewatchable necessarily, like Joker 2 and Megalopolis from Francis Ford Coppola.
Mhm.
Not great movies, but Francis Ford Coppola is a legend in the movie business. So yeah, I thought I gave him credit for being 85 years old and making a movie that he's wanted to make for like 40 years now, and he spent his own money on that. It's like $120 million, and he spent his own money to make it and had a great cast. So it's like I give him credit for that, but it's not extremely rewatchable, unfortunately. But
Gotcha.
other people may like it though. It's not horrible, but like I said, it's not to me not extremely rewatchable. But so we're just gonna get right to it here. Just Jason, if you got your first 3, just like I said, these are not ranked. They're not they're not they're not ranked. We're just gonna give like our favorites. Uh, Basically, Jason's gonna do his first 3, and then I'm gonna do 3, and then we're just gonna go back and forth until he's down to his last movie, and I'll give mine. So, but yeah, Jason, I'm interested to see what you have here.
Okay, I'm gonna get you with some heavy hitters early on. So my first movie is It Happened One Night,
Okay.
starring Clark Gable. And one of the reasons I chose this is because it was the first movie to do a clean sweep of the major categories. So
Wow.
it won Best Picture and Director, Best Actor and Actress, and Screenplay.
Wow. Yeah,
That's
that
only
was in like
happened
the
three
40s.
times in 96 years.
Right. Didn't like did Titanic do that? And I don't know. It came
No,
close.
but I've got some coming up that you'll
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, I think there's one way late '90s. I think may have done early 2000s. May have done 2003. May have done that. I don't know. 2004, possibly. I can't remember all the years, but yeah, the Oscars are great. It's like we'll talk about it. After you do your next two
All
here,
right,
we'll
sure.
talk a little bit more.
Uh, my next movie is One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest,
Okay,
which might have been one of yours.
that's a great movie, but that's okay.
um, this is the second movie to do the clean sweep of the Oscars, right?
Yeah, yeah,
Uh, Also, for Jack Nicholson, this is his first Academy Award win for acting.
yep.
He won 3 times overall. He
Hmm.
also won for Terms of Endearment and As Good as It Gets.
Right. I liked it as good. I haven't seen it as good as it gets for a long time. Here's Tony. Excellent. Yeah, I need to
Oh,
check
yeah.
that out. I don't know if that's on Criterion or not. I think it might be. I think it's on the Criterion collection. It may be on my list to get that. Never seen it before, but yeah, go ahead and do your third one.
Sure. Third one would be The Silence of the Lambs,
Oh
which
yeah, good one.
I thought you might have.
Good one.
It's the third one to do the clean sweep of
Okay.
the categories. Last one to do it in '91, and then both Anthony Hopkins and Jodie Foster obviously won.
Hmm.
They each have 2 Oscars. So Jodie Foster won for The Accused,
Right.
and Anthony Hopkins just won for The Father a couple of years ago.
Right. Right. And that was kind of controversial when he won for the father because of the Black Panther. The people thought. I think a lot of people had never seen Chadwick Boseman. Some people thought maybe he could win just because as a popular vote kind of thing
Right.
because he had passed away. And I thought he was good in the movie. I don't know if you've ever seen that movie before, but that he was. It was kind of like a stage play kind of thing, and it was great that he got nominated. But I think Anthony Hopkins. It's hard to beat Anthony Hopkins. The guy's.
I agree. I thought his performance was mesmerizing. I thought it was really great.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, like the Silence of the Lambs. Like, if you ever seen Manhunter before, that's
Yeah.
the first one in the series from Thomas Harris, and that one. We see the way Brian Cox play that character, and the way that Michael Mann, he basically ignored Hannibal Lecter in that movie. Like Hannibal Lecter's not really that scary. There's kind of a moment where there's a scare in the movie, but it's not extremely scary. But Anthony Hopkins made it more like a horror film, basically. And a lot of
Yeah.
people, I've argued with people, is Silence of the Lambs a horror movie? And it's kind of in that realm because of Buffalo Bill and Lecter is basically rips people's faces off. He's a cannibal, and like how is that not horror? It's more maybe highbrow horror, But the
Yeah,
father
I guess that's true. I always just kind of categorize it as a thriller.
this is a thriller.
Um,
Yeah,
yeah.
I've seen it listed as being a horror movie before on IMDb. I've seen it go back and forth being a thriller. But it's a scary movie though. I think it's
Oh,
something you
sure.
can definitely watch during the Halloween season, spooky season in
Oh,
October.
absolutely.
It's a
Yes.
scary movie, but I mean, there's some legitimate scares there, like in that third act. With Jodie Foster's
Oh, when
has
she's in the
found.
basement.
Yes,
Yeah.
when she's found Buffalo Bill, I don't want to spoil it necessarily. I'm sure a lot of people have seen the movie, but that's scary. Like the lights turned off and everything. But yeah, that's a great one. So I'm gonna I'll get a few here at that. So this is one that I think is get my three here. I'm glad you haven't picked this one yet because you probably had this on your list. But for me, I love the first two movies in this trilogy. For Francis Ford Coppola, I've got the Godfather, the first Godfather,
First one. Okay.
1972. I actually like the first Godfather more than the second one, which I do like the second one a lot because of De Niro. The whole thing. That movie, the second one's like 3 hours and 20 minutes long, and this one's like 2 hours and 55 minutes. And to me, I think it's a better movie overall because it's Al Pacino's really great in this movie. Obviously,
Yeah.
Marlon Brando. Brando's not really in the movie a lot, but he was great there. I think there was a controversy at the time because Al Pacino and a couple other actors in the movie were all nominated for Best Supporting Actor, and like they kind of canceled each other out in the Oscars that year. And I think Al Pacino thought he was basically, as it turned out, he's basically the lead in the franchise. Michael Corleone it's
Yeah.
about his story in the three movies, more about him. I get well, the second one's more maybe about his father, Don Corleone, but it's kind of his timeline basically. 'Cause the third one ends with Michael Corleone, and but he's great in the movie. I guess he felt like Marlon Brando should have been best supporting actor, even though he's like people will argue who is the Godfather? Is it Brando or is it Al Pacino's character? So but I love the first Godfather. I think is a great one. I've got another one here that's it's from the Coen Brothers. It's going to get a Criterion 4K release here in December, but it's No Country for Old Men.
Yeah.
Classic movie. This character that Javier Bardem plays is one of the best. I think he's a horror character.
Yeah.
I think he's extremely scary in this movie. I love the cast. Tommy Lee Jones. It's got Josh Brolin in it. And I think that's extremely scary. Like the stuff that Javier Bardem had that device that it can kill somebody instantly in the movie. I think that's pretty scary.
Well, Steve, I really like that movie, but I don't think it should have won Best Picture. I would have gone with There Will Be Blood for Best Picture from
that's a great one too. Paul Thomas Anderson. Yeah, that's a great movie too. I love that the third act in that movie is so great. But I like No Country a little bit more as a movie. I think There Will Be Blood. I think it's maybe slightly too long of a movie, but I love the third act of that movie, just the way it ends. And obviously everything that actor touches is he's going to win Oscars for about everything in There Will Be Blood. I think he's one of the greats. But as far as my third one here, I've got one from William Friedkin. The movie's The French Connection.
Oh yeah,
yeah. And this is Gene Hackman is one of my favorite actors of all time. Gene Hackman, I think he's one of the great ones here. Yeah, Mr. Oates, yeah, that's right. Tony, Uncle Tony, he's talking about Tony, Basement Blues. That's a guy. Yeah, I think a French Connection. I don't know if you've ever seen the sequel to this movie before. It didn't win a Best Picture, but
no, never saw the sequel, just the first one.
Yeah, it's called The French Connection 2. It's John Frankenheimer is the director. He did like Fell Safe, I think. No, that's a Lumet, but he did some great movies at the time, and I think The French Connection's great because of Gene Hackman, and I think this one deserved a sequel. I think because the way it ends, it's kind of open ended, and which is kind of like art house sort of when you leave a movie just kind of open, just let people kind of guess what may have happened, and it kind of things kind of get resolved in the sequel. And so if you haven't seen French Connection 2, it's worth checking out. Just
I'll check that out.
And Gene Hackman's pretty much the only guy carrying that movie basically. But yeah. So all right. So what's your number 4?
Number 4 here, hit you with the musical, and that is West Side Story.
Yes.
Special place in my heart for this one because we performed this when I was in high school, and it was a pretty big production, very fun. And of course, this was remade just recently by Steven Spielberg, and I thought that was well done and was good, but just kind of unnecessary because you have this, which I consider a masterpiece. But you might think of this movie and the Jets, or you might think of Natalie Wood, but actually the 2 Oscar winners for acting were sharks. It was Bernardo and Anita that won Best Supporting Roles for this movie. Yeah.
Yeah, I agree. Spielberg, I'm not totally sure why he did a remake of that movie necessarily, but I didn't think it was that bad. But it's just like like I said, it's kind of unnecessary to do a movie like that one. Go ahead with your number 5.
Next, number 5 is From Here to Eternity.
Okay.
You can see the very famous scene right there on the cover with them kind of rolling around in the sand.
Yeah.
This movie has got a star-studded cast, but Frank Sinatra actually won Best Supporting Actor for his role in this movie.
Wow,
a lot of people might know Frank's music, but don't realize he had a really pretty good film career as well.
He did, yeah. I didn't know that. I've told people before that I believe it or not, I haven't seen every movie ever made. I think you said you've seen every Oscar winner, right?
Yes, and most of the nominees.
Wow, most of the nominees too.
Most of the nominees as well. Yeah.
Well, that's impressive. Right? Like I said, I'd seen maybe like 2 movies before the end of the '60s. I've probably seen like 2 Oscar winners after that. So it's like I try to get to them all, but it's especially classic Hollywood. With Criterion, I've learned a lot more about classic Hollywood. I've started to kind of
Mhm.
get it, like Alfred Hitchcock. On my channel,
Yeah.
I've seen 19 of his movies now. I actually saw Dial M for Murder the other night, which I really enjoyed that. Which that story is kind of complex.
Oh
And then
yeah, very much.
the other one I didn't actually haven't watched yet because there was actually by doing this I actually had to watch a couple other movies before I did this live stream. Yeah, so yeah, Tony says he still needs to see the original
Okay.
West Side Story. You're talking about, I assume he's talking about the original West Side Story, which is probably all you really need to see. Unless you're, if you're a huge Spielberg fan, definitely check out the sequel too, or the remake. But that's basically that's for people that are huge Spielberg fans. It's a must see for them. But definitely see the original first, though. That's one that's really important. And then did you have one more?
Yeah, I got one more, and that is All About Eve.
Okay.
Mostly known for starring Betty Davis, who was nominated but didn't win. She's wonderful in the movie. But I want to point out another actress, and that's Thelma Ritter.
Yeah.
She was nominated 6 times for Best Supporting Actress, but never won, but including this
Wow.
movie. You
Wow.
would have probably just seen her, Steve, in Rear Window.
Yes. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. So
Yeah.
she's like the neighbor, and she one of the neighbors in the movie, or uh,
She's the nurse in Rear Window that
okay,
takes
right,
care
right.
of Jimmy Stewart. Yeah.
Jimmy Stewart, yeah, because he's in a wheelchair in the movie, and he needs somebody to take care of him. Yeah, it's a. You were talking about the there will be blood. I just couldn't remember his name. Daniel Day Lewis. It's
Mhm.
like I'll never
Yeah.
forget his name. Like he's the guy that like everything that Daniel Day Lewis touches, he seems to get at least an Oscar nomination. He's pretty much. I think when he's been nominated, I think he's won pretty much. I think he has like 3 Oscars. And if you look at his filmography, he really hasn't done a lot of movies overall, which is kind of amazing. But yeah, and you're talking about people have been nominated several times for Oscars. Al Pacino's got like 9 nominations for Best Actor or Best Actor and Best Supporting Actor. He's only won one time.
Just one win. Yeah.
That's amazing. He's a great actor. He's kind of an over actor, especially in the '80s. He became more of like Scarface and kind of stuff. Became
Yeah.
more of an over actor than at the time. But so my number 5. This is a movie that I actually watched on Friday again. When we're talking about this, I because I pulled all these movies off my shelf. I may have only owned like 35 Oscar Best Picture winners.
Okay.
But when I saw this, pull this off, like I need to watch this again. But it's from 1976. I have Rocky. Um,
Oh yeah.
some people will know like Taxi Driver. I think was released the same year. Some people might argue that Taxi Driver might be a better movie. Basically, Rocky became more of a big franchise. And I think the first one was more of like an art house kind of movie, very low budget.
Yeah.
Um, it's not like really a ton of boxing in that movie. It's like beginning of the movie, the end of the movie, and then the kind of there's some training in the movie here or there, but it's not really a true boxing movie. It's about his relationship with Adrian. You know, meeting her, and she's a very shy person. And it's a love story, really. The way it ends, it's like I love the ending to it. It is very open ended. Just basically, I don't want to spoil it, but the first Rocky, I think Rocky 3, my favorite in this franchise. To me,
Mhm.
that's the one that's like kind of the pop movie with all these great stars and stuff like Hulk Hogan and Mr. T. But to me,
Yeah.
when just watching this again, it's like, yeah, I do like that movie a lot. Carl Weathers, just his character in the movie is really cocky, that whole thing, and he doesn't take Rocky seriously. The thing. But yeah, definitely the first Rocky, great one. And I've got another boxing movie here that's just like just kind of get these out of the way here. Very sad movie. It's directed by Clint Eastwood. It's a $1 Million Baby.
Yeah.
Have you ever seen this? Like this very sad movie, kind of art house, kind of sort of art house kind of
Well,
movie.
it turns sad. The beginning is great, and then
Right.
there's a major turn in the movie, and it gets very sad at the end. So it's almost like 2 films.
You're right. Yeah. Yeah, Tony's talking about My Left Foot. I haven't seen that movie before yet, but I've heard of that before. Rocky 2 is his favorite. Yeah, Rocky 2 is a good
Yeah.
one too. I need to check that out because I actually just watched Rocky 4 last night.
Oh,
Some people say they love Rocky 4. Like to me,
I
that is
love
a
Rocky Four.
montage movie. I put
Yeah.
in my letterbox. I have a letterbox account under Excelsior Movie Reviews, and I said roll the montage basically because it's just it's only 90 minutes long and it's like montage.
Yeah.
And I think they've done like a director's cut or something like that, a re-release recently. I haven't seen that before, but it's like it's with Drago, that whole thing, and you know, uh, yeah, Apollo Creed, and how that all goes down. It starts off really silly and then becomes really serious, and the whole thing. But yeah, $1 Million Baby, just the way it ends, like wow, that was a tearjerker, especially if somebody I grew up Catholic, knowing that this big dilemma that Clint Eastwood's character goes through in the movie.
Yeah.
It becomes very serious. Like, oh my God, really? What that serious with? This is one of the better Clint Eastwood directed movies and starring movies that. And Clint Eastwood's done some good stuff over the years. But that one, let's do this one. Let's do this one. This one, I don't know if you. This one may be the one that did really well at the box office one year, and it's rare that it did well at the Academy Awards, but it's rare that you see fantasy movies win Best Picture, and was in 2004 for the year 2003. I have Lord of the Rings: The Return of the King.
Yeah.
This movie, I remember when, not to get too serious, but I remember 9/11 in 2001 when I saw the first Lord of the Rings, the Fellowship of the Ring. Um, that movie was such a change of pace for a lot of people. That to me, that saved cinema. It got people out to go to the movie theater after what happened in 9/11. Just like 3 months before, get people out to do that. And then, like, I really wasn't familiar with the Lord of the Rings, the trilogy at the time. And then they took a year. They filmed these like back to back to back, and
Yeah.
it took a year. All the post production, the CGI, and everything. They had to wait a whole year to release the next one in 2002, and then Return of the King was 2003. And wow, what a great movie! It's a little bit over too long. It has like these multiple endings that like it never ends.
Yeah. That's true.
But it's got some great CGI. It's just great action, and I love the ending, the way it goes down. It's just like it just doesn't end. Basically, they don't know exactly when they end the movie, but to me, the Return of the King, I think, is a classic movie how this one did pretty well at the Oscars. It won most of the categories that it was nominated for, I believe.
It won several for sure. Yeah.
It had like 10 it was like 11 nominations or something like that. And it's like I remember Billy Crystal was like the host of the Oscars that year, and he was like, oh, Lord of the Rings, Return of the King is another winner, and Peter Jackson said, he invited him to come to New Zealand because Billy Crystal had never been there before, and he said, "Yeah, I think you'd really like it." And Billy Crystal was kind of trashing New Zealand before, a place he'd never been before. And Peter Jackson said, "I invite you to come check it out. Just to see how it is." I'm not sure if he ever took his offer and went there, but to me, I really really enjoy that one. So, and then what's your number 7?
Number 7, I've got The Bridge on the River Kwai.
Okay,
This has got one of my favorite acting performances you'll ever see from Alec Guinness, who, most of you know as Obi-Wan Kenobi.
well,
Just an incredible war movie, just really well done and beautifully shot.
I agree. Yeah, I agree. That's a pretty long movie too, isn't it? I think. And,
Yeah,
it's just, they made epics back at that time. Like Lawrence
right.
of Arabia is like 3 hours or something like that, a little over 3 hours
Yeah,
long. Just they made long movies, and now Hollywood's kind of back to that again. Or they were there. Now they're kind of going back to slightly shorter movies, but they love their long movies though. Yeah, go ahead.
right.
You're number 8.
Next one here is In the Heat of the Night, starring
Yeah,
Sidney
great movie.
Poitier.
Hmm.
Uh, this is just a great movie. There was a TV series later on that they did, and Rod Steiger actually won the Oscar for acting in this one. But
Yeah,
Sidney Poitier in this year, 1967, had 3 movies out: To Sir with Love, Guess Who's Coming to Dinner, and In the
mhm.
Heat of the Night. It's hard to imagine a better year for an actor.
Yeah. It's a great Mr. Tibbs. My name
Yeah,
is Mr. Tibbs.
yeah,
A classic line in that movie. Yeah, got another.
yep.
Love Billy Crystal hosting. I thought he was a good
Oh yeah.
host too. Like back then, I thought he was fun.
All right. I expect you thought this might come up.
Okay.
Casablanca.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, this movie is so well known, and the song from the movie is so well known. As time goes by, that gets played in the movie. So if you actually watch a movie with the Warner Brothers logo and you hear a little bit of music, that is a piece of from uh, as time goes by.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow. I didn't know that. Yeah. Yeah. That's a good one too. You said that was that your number nine?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, let's talk about a controversial movie here that I think a lot of people thought from 1994. I think a lot of people thought another movie could have won that year, but I've got Forrest Gump and Robert
Oh,
Zemeckis. Um,
yeah.
I, I think a lot of people thought maybe Pulp Fiction could win that year. That could be a controversial thing. I think Pulp Fiction maybe a little bit too violent. I think for the Oscar voters, which is it's a great movie. I'm a huge Quentin Tarantino fan, but I saw this movie
Him
so
as
many
well.
times in the theater. I owned it on VHS, on DVD. Just it's a long movie too, but I think Tom Hanks is really great in this movie, though. But some people could argue whether he deserved to win or not. But he did this, and he had a string. I think he was in Philadelphia the year before this, and won an Oscar for that too.
Yes.
I believe.
Yeah.
So
And Forrest Gump has an incredible soundtrack
it does,
as
yeah.
it goes through the years. Yeah.
It's got a great soundtrack and great film score too. Like both.
Yeah.
Like I think you can buy them both. I think you get just the film score and also the soundtrack too. Yeah, it's got some great classic rock and stuff. I think 60s and 70s music
Mhm.
and stuff like that. And it's interesting how they kind of weave through time, just talking about the different controversies at the time. But yeah, I like Forrest Gump, but I would have been okay if Pulp Fiction had won that year.
I was
I would have
rooting
been
for
okay.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, and I've got another one here. It's a foreign film. I think that this is interesting that foreign films that they haven't really won a lot of Oscars. I think now they're kind of being people are kind of getting acquainted with foreign films. But from Bong Joon Ho, I've got Parasite. South Korean movie. Like I remember when I saw this in the theater, it had a huge crowd. Like I couldn't believe that. Like it's just like you think a foreign language film wouldn't do that. But I've learned with like South Korean films and Japanese that they're not extremely heavy on dialogue, and I think the stories are really easy to follow. They're very visual, and that's what
Yeah.
this one is too. I think if you just follow the visual kind of lead in the movie, you kind of know where the story is going, even though it has like a big kind of a twist in the movie. But um, you kind of know what's happening just by seeing the reactions and just where they go from one location to the next. You kind of know what's happening in the movie. So that's interesting. That movie, that foreign language film, could win Best Picture, but to this one, like I said, it was just very popular at the time. It's got like I guess on this cover, it's like this supposed to be like Morse code. It's
Oh,
got
okay.
yeah,
I was
so far.
pleasantly surprised by that movie. I didn't know what to expect, and it turned out that I really, really liked it.
Yeah, it's like I said, this is one. It's on the Criterion Collection. I think I had it on. I don't remember. I may have. I don't think I had it on regular Blu-ray. It was when it got released on Criterion that I decided to pick it up. But I saw it in theater once and I enjoyed it. Um, I think that was my number. I think I've got some in it. Well, let's do this one. I think that was nine.
Okay.
Yeah, I've done two before. That was my number eight. So this is my number nine.
All right.
This one's one of the newer ones. That I actually think the Oscars have done pretty well the last couple of years. Um, I've had problems with the Oscars. There's one big year where I wasn't really a huge fan of either movie, but when do you remember when La La Land they had like the cast and
Oh
the
yeah.
director up on stage, and then they said, "Oh wait, we made a mistake. It was Moonlight was the winner."
Yeah, that was a really big deal.
Yeah, it's like how they screw that up. How they screw up. Yeah, Forrest Gump. How they screw up Best Picture is like, it's like how do you mess that up? It's like they did somehow. They messed it up. Yeah, this is Corey, my friend Corey. Yeah, thanks for watching tonight, Corey. Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Sometimes they kind of people in the chat will kind of interact with each other. But this one, I enjoy this movie a lot. I've heard some people say they didn't love it, but I've got Oppenheimer. It's just from this past Best Picture
Oh,
winner. Um, Christopher Nolan, his movies are definitely hit or miss for people. They don't love it. Some of his editing and just crazy kind of chaotic kind of storytelling. But I liked Oppenheimer a lot, and Cillian Murphy. I did on my channel kind of a him winning whether Paul Giamatti could win or it could be Cillian Murphy. Which one could win best? Because I love the Holdovers, even though it didn't win Best Picture, but I thought Holdovers was really good. But Oppenheimer was great too, and it didn't bother me that Cillian Murphy won for this, but I thought I was really pulling for Paul Giamatti. He's I really thought he could have won just because I've been a huge fan of Paul Giamatti for so long. But Cillian Murphy and Oppenheimer is really good, and this movie it's a dark movie. It's a just the storyline. Just if you know the story with Oppenheimer, yeah, Tony says it's a miss.
Oh,
so there's some people that just not are fans of that violence. I loved it though. I thought they did a great job with that, but it's not gonna be for everybody. It looks like it, and Christopher Nolan's not gonna be for everybody either. It's just his style of directing is it's so crazy. But yeah, that was my number 9. So go ahead with your number 1.
My last one here is Rebecca.
There you go.
Favorite director Alfred Hitchcock.
There you go.
Criterion Collection. Yeah.
I had over to the side. I wasn't going to pick it, but it was kind of a reserve. But I like this movie a lot, though. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's got Laurence Olivier, one of the greatest actors we've had. It's Hitchcock, who was nominated 5 times for Best Director, but no wins. He's just got an honorary Oscar. That's it.
Right. Yeah.
Which is just crazy to think of. Yeah,
that was like. Was it like? It was like 80 or 70, 78, something like that. He won like an honorary Oscar, but
yeah,
I think a lot of people thought. I wonder how serious people took Hitchcock. Even though he made tons of almost 60 films. It's hard to say like do they take him seriously. He made appearances in a lot of his own movies. People thought that was kind of comical, and he had his the half-hour TV show, and then he had like an hour-long TV show too. So he was kind of everywhere. And I think people kind of took him for granted while he was making films, and then by the time he got near the end of his career, people thought, yeah, he's made some great films and changed cinema forever. It's like so yeah, I agree with that. Like Rebecca was really good. Well, I may go with a controversial one here at the end.
Okay.
Because I think it's worth mentioning. It's kind of an art house kind of film. So my last one here. This is very interesting from John Schlesinger from 1969, Midnight Cowboy. Controversial. Have you seen? This is like the only like X-rated movie to ever won Best Picture.
Yeah.
At the time, he was like. I think the MPAA came to him and they asked him if he just cut out like one segment out of the movie, at least one reel, just so they could say he re-edited the movie, and then they would give him an R rating, and then he said, no, I'm not going to do that. And so he ended up getting his R rating anyway. Like they came back a couple months later and just gave him the R rating, and then the movie could be shown in standard theaters at the time. But yeah, this is a dark movie with Dustin Hoffman and Jon Voight. It's just unbelievable. And then there's definitely a scene in this movie. It's really uncomfortable, but it's just the way it ends. It's very art house the way it ends. It's like, wow, very sad.
Yeah, the whole movie is very art house. I have to tell you, Steve, I actively hate it. It's one of my least favorite Best Picture winners, and it won that year over Butch and Sundance.
Right.
Yeah.
I thought I'd bring a controversial one at the end.
Right.
I was going to do, I was going to do Everything Everywhere at once, but I thought let's do something controversial. Let's do something just because it's like when you tell people an X-rated movie actually won Best Picture, like they think, "Wow, really?" It's like an X-rated movie. It's maybe a little bit tame. There's one scene in a movie theater that's uncomfortable. I kind of get that, but Dustin Hoffman's performance is really great in this. He's got the scene where he's on the streets of New York and like a taxi cab almost hits him. I'm walking here. He does that classic scene, but yeah, I understand that though. It's a controversial movie, art house kind of movie, but to me, it's worth mentioning just because it was an X-rated film that won Best Picture, and it's never happened since, and it's probably will never happen again.
No,
but I'm not sure if it may have been like an R-rated movie if it were out today, it probably
Yeah.
wouldn't get an X rating, but or an NC-17, but just in the late '60s, I think that's that's kind of why it's so controversial. But I think now it would be an R-rated movie. I don't think people would have a big deal with it. But at that time, it was a big deal, so I thought it was worth mentioning anyway. So, but yeah, so we talked about the controversy with seeing La La Land lose, which I don't think La La Land's really that great of a movie necessarily. It's not. I've only seen it once in the theater, but I think it's much better than Moonlight. Though I think Moonlight's totally been forgotten now. Like and that one best picture, and it made the Academy look really foolish not to get Best Picture wrong on Oscar night. Like it's unforgivable, really, and they're still trying to recover from that controversy now.
Yeah, it's wild that happened. I really loved La La Land,
Okay.
but I like musicals, and it's a big throwback to the big Hollywood studio musicals. So
And
that's
it has,
what really made it for me.
yeah, Ryan Gosling's really great. Like I said, I've only seen it once, but
Yeah.
for me, I thought for sure that's going to win Best Picture. Like at the time, I thought I'd never even heard of Moonlight at the time. Um,
Well, yeah,
but
it's a small movie.
yeah, it's like, but yeah, basically he and the co-star in the movie, they were all on stage, and then they all had to be told, "Oh wait, we got it wrong. Moonlight was actually the winner." And it's like, really? And then everybody has to get off stage so they can bring the other cast and director and everything on stage. Like, and Moonlight's been so forgettable. I remember like the one year that Crash won, which I
Yeah.
think at the time Crash was more relevant in 2004 than it is now, and I think for good reasons. I think Crash is not relevant now because there's this big racial element in that movie um, that makes it the reason why it's less relevant now, which is a good thing. But the director at the time went on to do some other stuff. He co-wrote the Casino Royale,
Yeah.
that stuff. A lot of times I have to look up people's names to remember his name, but he was like the kind of hot ticket in Hollywood at the time. I think he may have gotten to like Scientology or something like that after that, which is kind of controversial. Um, but yeah, I think that was kind of interesting. That I've actually never seen Brokeback Mountain before, which a lot of people thought they couldn't believe Brokeback Mountain didn't win that year. Crash, I actually used to know. I don't know if you own Crash or not, but I used to
No.
own it. I don't know if you have that, but yeah, Paul Haggis was the guy that directed and he co-wrote the screenplay for the movie. Like I said, he was at the time he was this big deal in Hollywood, and then just kind of just I think because of Scientology, and I think when he got out of Scientology, that whole thing there was some controversy there. He also co-wrote Million Dollar Baby as well, so
Okay. Yeah.
like he was a big deal at the time. Um, and he's a Canadian born director and he writes screenplays and that kind of stuff, and also, I remember that there was one year that I don't know if you're a big David Fincher fan or not, but there was a year that I
Oh,
thought,
absolutely.
yeah, The
Yeah.
Social Network I thought was going to win that year, and then The King's Speech comes out of
Yeah.
nowhere. Like I'd never heard of it, which I think The King's Speech is actually a great movie, but
I really like it a lot. It
yeah,
gets a lot of hate because it beat Social Network, and I think Social Network is great too. But um, I just love all the acting in the King's Speech. There you
it's
go.
a great movie. I had not seen it until until that controversy, and I thought, yeah, that's a pretty good movie, but but I really wish The Social Network would have won because I'm huge David Fincher fan. That was kind of his big opportunity to win an Oscar and Best Director. But he didn't do it though. He got kind of robbed a little bit. But also, obviously, there's one big controversy with Harvey Weinstein. If you know the Shakespeare in Love, some
Oh
people
yeah,
thought he really campaigned heavy for that one, and obviously
beat
he's
out
yeah.
Saving Private Ryan.
Saving Private Ryan. Oh
Yeah.
my God, Saving Private Ryan's a great movie, and Tom Hanks is really great in that movie. But it was like that was that's kind of like he was in charge of Miramax. Obviously, he's kind of not well liked now, but yeah, he's talking about Cronenberg did a movie called Crash also earlier,
I've
like
seen that too.
'96.
Yeah.
Yeah, different movie, but yeah, I've had somebody on my channel when I mentioned Crash on Criterion, and they said, "Oh, that's a terrible movie," and they were talking about the 2004 movie. Like, well, this is not the Oscar winner. This is the one from David Cronenberg. Different movie, the same name, different movie, but um, yeah, it's like Harvey Weinstein's part of Miramax, and some people thought that, obviously Pulp Fiction didn't win. That was a Miramax movie also, and
Yeah.
they felt like he really campaigned heavy for Shakespeare in Love. And like I said, Saving Private Ryan is a great movie, and people have forgotten Shakespeare in Love. It's like no one remembers that movie now. That's that's one. And also, I've got a comment here. English page, yeah, best picture winner was so long and boring. we're
Um,
with you. I think we're with you on that one.
well, I think that's the most egregious example because that beat out Fargo that year, and
Fargo. Oh my
Fargo
God,
should have won. Yeah.
Fargo, one of my favorite movie from the Coen Brothers. And I
Yeah.
did a video where I talked about why I didn't include the Coen Brothers and with my favorite directors, because I feel like they're kind of a team, even though Joe Coen is technically considered to be he's technically considered to be the director. If you look on Wikipedia, he's
Right.
but they're both really kind of directors. Ethan Coen is also he's a director now too. They've kind of split off a little bit. I don't know if they're they've not getting along anymore necessarily, or they just want to do their own thing. But really, Ethan Coen would direct the cast. Like he didn't like. I think he may have been charged of action and cut, but he would talk to the cast in between filming. So he was doing a lot of directing when they weren't filming. So, but to me, when we talk about best directors, it's hard for me to say Ethan Coen or that team, because I was listing just individual directors and not necessarily a team. So they're kind of on their own. On their own, they made some great movies too. That's why
Yeah.
I had to do a ranking video from them. Fargo's amazing. Yeah, Fargo's a
Yeah.
great movie. My God, Fargo. I bought the Shout Select 4K for that recently. It looks really great in 4K. Yeah, Fargo's one of the great ones. I don't know if you wanted to give some honorable mentions at all.
Yeah, I've got a few if you've got some.
Yeah.
This movie here, I think you've heard of, Gone with the Wind.
Yeah.
A little bit of a controversial pick because it won over The Wizard of Oz, which a lot of people think should have won
It's the
Best
same
Picture that
director.
year.
It's the same director, even though the director that did that, he's kind of in charge of. I think he was in charge of Wizard of Oz, or they put his name on it. But he the same director, the same year, directed both
Yeah.
movies. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. That's it. I've seen that one before. That's a long movie too. I think it's like 3.5 hours, something like that. I've only
Yeah.
seen it once, and I think it was like a bucket list kind of thing. I got to see this movie at least once, and so I did check it out.
Let me surprise you with a more recent movie here, Gladiator.
Oh my God, yeah.
Ridley Scott, and of course Russell Crowe won Best Actor, and Joaquin Phoenix was nominated for Supporting Actor. Just to tell you how strong the cast was in this movie. But I remember seeing this in the theater in a packed house, and people were just going crazy about it.
It's great, yeah. And now they're making the sequels coming out here soon too. Ridley
Right.
Scott, yeah, it's coming out this year, so and I look forward to that too. I think it's supposed to be his son, Russell Crowe's son, has taken over. I think it's Paul Massell or something like that, or I think it's probably one of his big breakout movies other than Our House movies. I think it's one of his big like mainstream kind of movies that he's doing. Yeah, go with another one.
Just one last one for you here, and I hesitate to show this one to you because my cover is pretty bad. But The Sting with
Oh wow,
Paul Newman and Robert Redford, of course.
Yeah, it's a great movie.
And
Yeah,
just a incredible movie. Costumes and the acting and the music's all ragtime music from the period. It's just it's a lot of fun seeing those guys together.
Paul Newman's so great, especially Robert Redford. Just a great team. I've got a few here that are just more of the. Well, one of them was Gladiator. I was going to mention that. That's great. You got one that's I think it's from Martin Scorsese, The Departed. I think some people don't really talk about this as much now. Or, Jack Nicholson's really great. Really, it goes off the rails. It's like how everybody in the movie is like nobody's safe in this movie. Like it's amazing. I got to give that one a rewatch. It's like Martin Scorsese. It's some people don't talk about this one. It's also with Russell Crowe, A Beautiful Mind, or this one interesting kind of a storyline in this too. It's one of the great ones. And then we mentioned Titanic, obviously a very long movie. James Cameron, that one that did well at the Oscars, right? It did like what 11 wins.
It won a lot of Oscars. Yeah,
I
plus
don't
all
know.
the money that it made.
Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
think it swept though. I think it won. I don't think it was nominated for every category, but I think it won all the categories that I think it was nominated for. I believe at '97, obviously Platoon,
Oh yeah.
um, yeah, that one, and Unforgiven, another Clint Eastwood movie. Gene Hackman's in this
Was your
movie.
guy Gene
Morgan
Hackman?
Freeman,
Yeah.
yeah, Morgan Freeman's in this too. It's like a. I'm not really a huge fan of westerns necessarily, but I do like westerns. But I have another one. Another Gene Hackman western, more a modern western, The Quick and the Dead from Sam Raimi.
Yeah.
And like it's like they just don't really make westerns all that much. Tombstone's a really great one too, from just some of
Oh
the
yeah.
more recent ones, but not an Oscar winner. But yeah, it's that one. I think. Yeah, yeah. I mean,
um,
Tony's definitely a big 4K guy. So
right.
yeah,
I do not own a 4K player or
yeah,
television,
yeah.
so not anytime in the foreseeable future. I would like to upgrade some of my DVD titles up to Blu-ray for sure.
Yeah, I'm doing that a lot now too. I mean, you get a lot of great movies used on Blu-ray. Like if you go to like the Exchange, Half
Yep.
Price Books, like you can find a lot of Blu-rays there. And I've been upgrading a lot of my DVDs. And some DVDs have never been released on 4K or Blu-ray before, but 4K is not necessarily not for everybody, and they're really expensive too. Like, and you have to have a 4K TV and a 4K player to make them work.
Right.
So it's like I think Blu-ray. And to me, I talk about that a lot. How the jump from DVD to Blu-ray was pretty big, but the to me the jump from Blu-ray to 4K is not quite as big. Even though 4K is the best picture quality. A lot of people on YouTube make videos about 4K and they upgrade everything to 4K. I'm still upgrading like DVD to Blu-ray right now, and like I said,
Yep.
I'll buy stuff used because a lot of people have gotten rid of their Blu-rays and gone to 4K. That's
Hmm.
that's an opportunity for people if you want to get if you want to get Blu-rays. It's a great opportunity because you can find them for like $4 for a Blu-ray that's in pretty good quality. Um, to me, Blu-ray is still good, but the 4K is obviously I've been buying a lot of 4K as well.
Hmm.
Obviously the everything everywhere all at once is on 4K. I found it for like $20 at Walmart. It's a
Okay.
Blu-ray and 4K combo, and so just some movies for sure I'll definitely buy them. Like Oppenheimer, that's on 4K as well. So, but I think I think now is definitely an opportunity for somebody who just wants to buy movies. If you just want to get DVDs, this is a great time to get DVDs because a lot of people have upgraded their DVD collection to Blu-ray, and you can find DVDs for like $2. If you just want the movie,
Yeah. I think I just shared with you recently, Steve, that I just bought 10 DVDs and got them for $1 a piece.
right?
So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, go to Goodwill or Half Price Books or the Exchange. So if you're just a movie lover, and you're not necessarily, you don't necessarily, the picture quality isn't like the most important thing to you. If you just want to get the movie and you just want to see the movie, it's like just like when you go to the library, you check out movies from the library. There've been times that the King Kong was recently one that I checked out from the library because I'd never seen the original King Kong, which is like it
Oh,
was like
okay.
100 years old almost, approximately. I'd never seen it before, and I thought when I watched it, I thought I love this so much, even though it's like stop motion animation.
Yeah.
I loved it so much that I bought it on Blu-ray. So that for me, it's like testing it out at the library just to see if something I would like. And once you kind of get past the stop motion animation and you kind of understand this movie is like 100 years old almost, like you think that the technology they had at the time that was state of the art at the time. So because it's early
Absolutely.
Hollywood, yeah. So it's like that's a great movie. King Kong is like I'm glad I finally got to see it. And like I said, with Criterion, I'm checking out all these old movies. Like In the Heat of the Night, I'd never seen that before earlier this year. So
Okay.
I'm glad I bought that on Criterion. So that's what Criterion does. It's a lot of classic movies that they're bringing back. It's making more relevant again by improving the picture quality and giving you the special features. And I'm a big special features kind of nerd. But I love commentary and I love the extra scenes and stuff. And do interviews with historians that I just have. They talk about how important the movies were and how they changed cinema, and it's a Library of Congress. They consider these movies to be culturally relevant, and important to film lovers, out there. Why it's so important to movies, that's what Criterion does, and so some people don't understand that. Kino and Criterion bring back these old movies that most people have never seen, like Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid. I'd never seen that movie before.
Okay.
That's a Western, or kind of an anti-Western kind of thing, and loved it. And then Chris Christopherson died like 3 weeks later after I saw that. It's like,
Oh,
and
yeah.
I looked him up, like he was like 88 or something like that. And I
Mhm.
thought, wow, he's still alive. And then not too long after that, he passed away. But
One of my favorite movies that I have in my collection is Holiday with Cary Grant and Katharine
yes,
Hepburn, and I've got that on Criterion.
absolutely, I've got that. That's behind me over here.
Oh.
I've got Holiday. I saw Holiday for the first time last
Yeah,
year.
that's exactly it. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot of fun. Like, oh man, Cary Grant. I've learned so much about Cary Grant, and just in recent years, Hitchcock. He did like 3 or 4 Hitchcock movies. To Catch a Thief's really great, and Northwest, really great. Oh,
Notorious.
yeah, Notorious. Yeah, Notorious. I've got that in here somewhere. I think
He's my favorite actor, Cary Grant.
he's somebody I've learned a lot about. I don't know if you've ever seen Arsenic and Old Lace. Have you ever seen that movie before?
Yes, love it.
Oh my God, that family is so nutty, and it's so dark. It's for that something that, what was that? That was filmed in like 1941, but they didn't release it until like 44 because it was a Broadway hit, and they wanted to wait till
Yep.
it had its run on Broadway, and so they waited like 3 years before they actually released it in theaters. And yeah, that family is so nutty in that movie, and the brother, or I think his brother or brother in the movie, he's like really evil. And Peter Lorre's really great in the movie too.
Yeah.
So
Such
that's
a
when you get.
movie.
Yeah, Criterion's gonna bring me back these old movies and kind of make them relevant again. I think if you like classic movies, and I was trying to find another one. There's another Western that I saw not too long ago. I don't know if you've ever seen Five Easy Pieces before.
Yeah, I just saw it a few years ago.
Yeah, that's a great one. It's not an Oscar winner, but going through my list here, there's one. Here's a Pat Garrett and Billy Kid that I saw. I found
Okay.
this one used at a is at a disc replay. I found this used in really great shape. It's on Blu-ray. That one. Um, Robert Altman. He did a movie that I loved. It's kind of like an anti-western, what they call. And I had to look up the title. I own it here, but I just the title kind of escapes me at the moment. But I don't know if you've ever seen that with.
Is it McCabe and Mrs. Miller?
Yes, yeah,
Yeah.
that one.
Yeah, I've
Wow,
seen it.
I like that movie a lot. I love the way it ends. It's very dark. It's not a Hollywood ending necessarily, but I loved it though. It's more modern. The Cohen did like the film score to the movie. Um, so I've learned this appreciation for movies just with Criterion. I've been collecting Criterion since like the late '90s, but they're
Nice.
mostly like the kind of the more mainstream kind of movies that I was collecting at that time. But I've because of Criterion, I've learned a lot about these older movies that like I couldn't believe Bob Dylan was in Pat Garrett and Billy the Kid.
Right.
Like who knows how much longer he's going to be alive? Sadly, he's like 83 now. It's amazing that he was a famous folk singer that got cast because he was a friend of Christopherson, and they put him in the movie, and he doesn't have a lot of lines, but he these great facial expressions in the movie that yeah, that's why it's a lot of fun. But that's all I have as far as bring up movies here. That it's been a lot of fun talking about these classic movies and stuff. And it's I don't know if you
Yeah.
call movies films or not, or if you call them pictures or films. People used to call them pictures all the time, and that's how you know somebody's older when they refer to a movie as a picture
Right.
or a film. They're more of a film scholar type,
Well,
as
and
they call it.
it's nice to see you keep going down the rabbit hole and sort of discover some of these older films as you go along.
Yeah, so it's like I said, Criterion. I keep thinking I'm going to run out of Criterions to collect, and then I
Mhm.
still have like I'm going to get a Hitchcock movie. I'm not going to say what it is, but I'm not going to spoil it yet. But there's one that they do. If you don't know this, but Criterion does like a they do like a flash sale usually every October, where all their movies are half price at the time. It's
Oh,
just
no.
like Barnes and Noble, but it's a 24-hour thing, so you have to order it as soon as they announce it. You have to order it then, and then so there's at least one Hitchcock movie I'm going to get. I already have Notorious and Rebecca, but he has like 8 movies in the Criterion collection. He has one silent movie called the Lodger.
Okay.
Um,
Yeah.
uh, I'm not sure if I don't have a lot of silent movies in my collection, but
I
like
don't either.
Buster Keaton, like Buster
The Blind
Keaton,
Spot.
yeah, and Charlie Chaplin are like two of the big kind of silent movie star directors of the time. But yeah, this is a lot of fun. Like I said, we'll keep this about an hour. Just
Yeah.
give our 10 favorites here to kind of go through what we had. So yeah, it's a lot of fun. Jason, we'll do this again if we come up with another topic here. We will. Like I said, I promised that I'd have you on my channel, and I thought,
Yeah.
because we're doing fantasy football right now, so it's like I thought maybe you might be kind of busy, but um, yeah, Tony. Like I said, Tony's a legend on YouTube. Basement Blues. That's Tony. Like I said, he's got everything in his collection. So he's like kind of an icon in our YouTube world and kind of the community here. But yeah, that's everybody. I really appreciate everybody watching, commenting tonight. That made it a lot more fun just to have that with us talking about our Oscar picks and also kind of reading people's comments and stuff like that. It's more interactive, which I enjoy that a lot. But yeah, so I'm going to sign off for now. But like I said, I've got some great videos on my channel right now. Like I said, Coen Brothers and I've got the Friday 13th ranked. That's not
Yeah.
Oscar winning, but it's fun during spooky season to talk about Oscar, about the scary movies and stuff, especially Jason. But yeah, especially Jason. We're talking about Jason here, Jmac.
Right.
Um, Thanks, man. Yeah, good luck with your fantasy football team this year.
Yeah.
Well,
Thanks.
Jason is like in the playoffs every year, and I'm like the run and gun kind of a high risk, high reward kind of. Yeah, he's got
Four-time champion.
I've got 4 championships as well, but
Yeah.
I've been in the league longer. I started in 2002, and Jason, you started in like the late 2000s, I think. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So like you're pretty much always in the playoffs every year, and I missed the playoffs last year because of Joe Burrow, and is in fact he can't stay, and he and T Higgins can't stay healthy. So, but it's fantasy football is fun, especially championships are always fun. But who knows when I don't think my team's going to make it this year. And as far as a championship, no, I've lost Rasheed Rice. He's probably my
Yeah.
top receiver. I've lost him for the year, so I'm like that's kind of killed me. But yeah, Jason, I really appreciate you joining me, and you have
Of
a great
course,
one.
anytime.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so I'm going to sign off. I'm going to hit this end screen here, and of course we'll chat in our group chat for fantasy football. But so thanks everybody for watching. I'm going to sign off here, and everybody have a great one. Thank you.